Amateur radio in space is exciting. Many students from around the world have had a chance to talk directly with the astronauts in space. The United States, in cooperation with many nations around the world, has continued to support space exploration for the betterment of all people. Ham radio operators have a unique advantage in that they have the ability to use their equipment and communicate to spacecraft orbiting the Earth. Over 20 years ago, students from around the world pioneered the effort to speak with astronauts aboard the shuttle. Both the students and the astronauts have their ham radio operators licenses. The astronauts studied for their amateur radio license and passed their code tests before leaving Earth. Young hams gathered in their classrooms waiting for the shuttle to pass overhead so they could transmit their signals up through the sky.
Good afternoon to everyone along the net. This is ARISS Control at the Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas.
This is Mission Control Houston, and we're standing by as shuttle amateur radio experiment operations are planned to begin momentarily, featuring Clear Creek Independent School Districts from the Johnson Space Center local area, communicating with the crew on board Atlantis.
Okay, folks, here it goes. This is N6MNN calling KB5AWP. You around, Ken?
Okay, Ralph, good signal. I hear your voice much better now. We must be just coming into view over your horizon, and we're ready to talk to the students at Clear Creek Independent School District.
Good morning, Ken. Let's go right to the group at the Clear Creek Independent School District. W5RRR, this is Sergeant Control. Go ahead.
Since the spacewalk EVA deployment of the Gamma Ray Observatory won't occur until tomorrow, what kind of preparations are you making today? Over.
Okay, right now we've just finished a TDRS direct check and a reaction wheel test. Everything is going very well with Gamma Ray Observatory, and we look very good for tomorrow. Over.
Okay, W5RRR, go ahead with your next question, please. Over.
Do you tend to reevaluate your life when you look at the Earth? Over.
Yes, we all do. That's, in fact, we're very thankful for what we've been able to accomplish and what so many people have helped us to be able to do. And when you float up here above the Earth in our little spacecraft and look down at the great big spacecraft that we all fly on, it makes us all think about what our priorities are. Over.
Astronauts from many nations continue to explore space aboard the International Space Station. The ISS continues to grow as the shuttle and its crew take large sections from Earth and deliver them to space. Both men and women are in space together. Plus, they are ham radio operators. Each mission that gets planned by NASA includes time for students to communicate via ham radio directly to an astronaut. This program is called ARISS and is a joint effort of AMSAT, ARRL, and NASA. The Boulder Hill Elementary School Radio Club is currently on the list to make a contact with the ISS. Students have been preparing for this contact by attending radio club meetings held after school hours. Club members have had a chance to make several ham radio contacts with other hams from around the globe. Each future ham has learned about radio equipment, the components that make up a radio, and have built a working crystal radio set. Some of the club members have even talked to other hams through an amateur satellite which circles the Earth much like the ISS does. Legendary broadcaster Roy Neal, K6DUE, explains the early history of manned spaceflight and the beginning of hams in space.
Once upon a time, many years ago, the very first man-made satellite went into orbit. The Russians launched it, and they called it Sputnik. Amateur radio operators were the first to hear the voice of Sputnik, and they told the world about it. The door to space was opening. A few years later, hams began sending up their own satellites. They called them Oscar, for orbiting satellite carrying amateur radio. The first one flew in 1961. As time went on, so did the Oscars. They were built to relay voices so that hams could talk to one another all over the world. A group of hams in the United States, interested in space, formed the Amateur Satellite Corporation, AMSAT, to work with other countries in Europe, Asia, and South America. Their Oscars became even more talented. They could relay computer talk, messages. They were sent into higher orbit so that they could be used up to 16 hours a day. In 1990, 7 new satellites were put into orbit all at the same time, small but mighty. These were the microsats. They're there now, and amateurs use them as orbiting mailboxes. They relay voice or written mail, can even bring down pictures from space. As unmanned spaceships were proliferating, so too was manned flight. Astronauts were going out into space. Why, they even walked on the moon. NASA, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, runs the space program. It developed the giant space shuttle, and that gave astronaut hams the chance to take their equipment with them into orbit. Owen Garriott, W5LFL, led the parade. Once he was up there, the whole world tuned in.
This is W5LFL. You're our first contact from orbit, WA1, Juliet, X-ray November. How do you read, over?
KZ 17, W5LFL, Kilo Alpha 7.
Members of the Boulder Hill Elementary School Radio Club will be making their own contact with the astronauts soon. Until then, the club members will continue learning about ham radio and the technologies which have changed the way we live and communicate. So as you can see, amateur radio in space continues to be exciting.